We live.
Yes, I'm here for you.
We're live. We're live.
Oh, we're live. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today. You know, the storms from last night was a great example of why we're all here today. Because April showers, as we know, isolate the residue of winter, nourishes the soil so that everything can bloom in its natural beauty. And that's why we're here. To usher the same opportunity in for children. To wash away any residue of brutality. To allow them to be nourished and blossom into the wonderful human beings that they're intended to be. So, I know some of you might have heard of this story, but it originated in 1969, and it's the story of the star thrower. Probably haven't heard it, but you call it that. And the story goes like this. There's a grumpy old man walking along the beach, very long stretch of sand, and there's a little boy in the distance who's throwing something back into the ocean. So the man walks closer to see what's happening, what's going on, and he sees the little boy picking up starfish, throwing them back into the water. So the old man says, "What are you doing? Like, this is futile. There's so many starfish. You know, it's like 5 miles of beach, and you're throwing these little, one by one into the ocean. You'll never be able to make a difference." And the little boy said, he picks up a starfish, throws it into the ocean, and he said, "I just did this." And that's what we do at NSFS. We want to save the world, but we know we do. So we do our best each and every day for those that are entrusted in us, who come for safety, for help and support. That's what we do. One person, one family at a time. Our mission is to facilitate dreams by promoting equity for all by using innovative solutions that bridge gaps in housing, health, and well-being. Many of you know NSO for our housing solutions that we offer in the community, but we also deliver community-based integrated healthcare and 4 clinics throughout Metro Detroit. And we also provide behavioral health services to seniors and nursing homes and throughout communities in Wayne and Oakland counties. In addition, we provide clinical and supportive services to children and families with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Across the parking lot from where we're standing at the Clay Apartments is the Detroit Healthy Housing Center, where we have an emergency shelter for women. The number one reason that women and children are homeless is domestic abuse. Children in homes with domestic abuse are 5 times more likely to be abused. Every 9 minutes, a child is sexually abused. 76% of abusers are family members or known to the child, but only 20% of those abusers ever see a courtroom. Yeah, let that sink in. According to the National Child Alliance, just over 13 out of every 1,000 black child will be abused of 1,000 white children. 100,000 black children went to only 2 out of 100,000. Any is important, but this disparity has to be addressed. I have great respect for law enforcement and the legal system. However, like any system, there are gaps and flaws that need to be addressed. The disparities in prevalence is only one aspect. The stereotypes, racial bias, access to legal services, and the socioeconomic status of those who are being abused are just even how someone looks when they walk in to report abuse. These factors should not impact the outcome, the evidence that's presented to protect children. Far too often, the victim is blamed, discredited, and re-traumatized by the system that is designed to support and protect them. When Desire Harris's family reported abuse, the system did not protect her. The student who was repeatedly raped by the security guard at Cornerstone Academy was failed by the system. Those responsible responsible for the bruises you see on these easels next to me, no one has yet to be held accountable, despite diligence in working with the constraints of the system. Over the last 6 months in Metro Detroit alone, we've had countless news stories where the system has failed children who are being abused. Children who have a constitutional right to be protected from harm. The system has a role to play. But isn't that up to all of us as well? Don't we have a responsibility, a role to play in all of this? You know, the message "Don't Touch Me" came because I have a friend who's a teacher of young children, and she sent me some references and videos to educate children about safe and unsafe touching. In the video, one of the little girls was talking, you know, it's education by children, for children by children. So the child was teaching the other children who's watching the video what to do if somebody touches you. And it resonated. As I was hearing all of these cases over the last 6 or 8 months, I heard her little voice so clearly. Don't touch me and run and seek help. Don't touch me and run and seek help. So as I was thinking about what could I do, if I have experienced these flaws and gaps in the system, with my resources and network and platforms, my education, my background, my socioeconomic status, what are others facing who don't have the same access to resources as I do?
All right.
And so this "Don't Touch Me" campaign is really to lift up everybody, children in general, to help provide cover. We are adults. We are organizations. In some countries, it's only the non-governmental organizations that are protecting children because they don't have laws and systems and structures like we do. So we have a responsibility to come together and help address this issue. I see a lot of mothers. Every woman that is here that's going to speak today has been deeply connected to this issue. And then we have a physician, Dr. Richard Price, whose life is devoted to serving vulnerable populations, who's going to speak to this issue. And there's diverse perspectives on purpose. As a mother, I have great responsibility to speak out when systems that are supposed to protect our children fail to do so. If I don't protect my child, I could be legally responsible. My daughter disclosed abuse courageously and repeatedly. Her words were consistent. Her pain was supported by medical findings, physical evidence, including the bruises that you see. Yet despite this, her voice has been minimized. The lead detective assigned to her case admitted under oath with witnesses in the courtroom to having a personal connection to a family member bringing an allegation of coaching. How do you coach bruises? Despite having no formal training in child abuse or the child's response to trauma or coaching, no supporting evidence, no authority to make such a determination, this reckless assertion derailed the investigation time after time and cast unwarranted doubt on my daughter's experience. The result? Key disclosures were disregarded. Evidence disregarded. Her safety concerns that she said repeatedly she didn't feel safe, ignored. And the system that was supposed to ultimately support her and trust her turned its back on her. To date, there has been no accountability for this misconduct. No meaningful steps have been taken to ensure her protection. And this is not just a failure due to diligence, it's a failure of justice. There are well-meaning people in our system, but there are also people in every system who don't intend to do what they're supposed to do. That's why as organizations we have policies and procedures. Whether it's intended or not, sometimes people don't do what they're supposed to do.
That's right.
And so we need to bring accountability to the system to make sure that the processes that are designed to protect children, the most vulnerable of us, do so. I'm not speaking out just for my daughter. but for every child whose truth has been silenced. We must do better, and I will not stop until we do. The Don't Touch Me campaign is NSO doing its part to promote awareness of the disparate treatment of children who are abused and advocate for a system that lives up to the honorable duty to protect children. One of the first tasks is to require age-specific, trauma-informed training for law enforcement and investigators involved in responding to child abuse cases. That may be hard to believe, but there's currently no requirement in place. It is voluntary, according to MCO. Would you want to have life or death surgery by a physician who was not trained in the necessary procedures to save your life?
No.
That's what's happening to our children.
Thank you.
Their lives are in the balance of these investigators, these people who have a responsibility to recognize their symptoms, what they're experiencing, hear them, and they don't know what they don't know. You know, we're very thankful for law enforcement. I've said that before. But this is happening over and over again with our children, and someone who can have the best intentions, yet again, but won't know what they don't know if they aren't exposed to the proper training, the modules, the protocols. We also aim to strengthen the laws to hold predators accountable and create oversight for an integrated approach to handling child abuse, so that somebody can't just state a misleading false allegation against any parent or any child to disrupt and undermine an investigation. That should not happen, especially when there's evidence in front of these investigators that suggests otherwise. We're very thankful for our initial supporters who joined forces with us today to address this issue, as well as help us to forge other key priorities. Our initial supporters include Alternatives for Girls, Authority Health, Black Family Development, Dunamis Charge, Franklin Wright Settlements, Detroit Service Learning District, Sasha Center, Bloom Transformation Center, the Union, and Community Health and Social Services, also known as CHASN. We openly invite any community agencies, advocacy groups, business leaders, legislators, and anyone else who can join us in this effort. NSO will be forming a council of supporters who will help bring diverse perspectives to this issue and collaboratively develop a strategic plan and actions that will help us to achieve our objectives. You will hear from some of the members who will be participating on our council today. Starting with the perspective from the business community, Natalie King, CEO of Dunamis Energy and Dunamis Charge. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
When Linda informed me about the Do Not Touch, or the Don't Touch Me initiative, my heart was moved as a mother. And the thought that if my child had been a victim of sexual abuse, who would I turn to? Where would I go? Who would be the village that would wrap themselves around me and my family to advocate for my child? And I would like to think that this group or other groups would move on my behalf as a parent first. When we thought about all of the different aspects of how child sexual abuse impacts our community, and Linda said, well, let's talk about how it impacts the business community. I had to really think about that. And then something hit home very personally for me in my business. So I'm gonna give you these quotations first, or these statistics. 81% of female child sexual abuse survivors have long-term psychological impacts. Child sexual abuse survivors incur 2.4% higher annual medical costs. There's a 3.5% times more likely struggle with addiction for child sexual abuse survivors. Economically, $9.3 billion annually in costs directly related to child sexual abuse annually in our country. Massive lawsuits that we've seen. The legal structure really struggling to work through these issues. So how does that represent us as business leaders? For me, I have seen the impacts of trauma on even our highest level management team members. We know that our businesses are run by us, by people. We're just people. And what we are seeing here is that it absolutely takes a village to raise a child. What we know is that if there is injustice for one of us, there is injustice for all of us. And so these are issues that will absolutely and will continue to impact the business community if we do not all formulate together. Because if I'm hiring a wounded child that is now an adult, that is going to transfer over and impact how we are able to service our community and service our customers. So the impacts of child sexual abuse not only impacts individuals and families, it impacts our entire workforce ecosystem, either it being directly through an employee and their well-being, or indirectly through systemic costs that are related to. For businesses investing in prevention education, trauma-informed HR policies, and community partnerships like this is not only the right thing to do, but it is the economically sound thing to do. So I'm going to end with the very personal experience of one of our top performers in our company. Top performers, very, very highly valued for us, was a victim of child sexual abuse. And the unhealed emotional impacts had such a toll, even though this person was the epitome of work ethic and commitment. That person eventually had to go off on a long-term disability because of the emotional that turned into physical impacts of that child sexual abuse. So personally, we're in this charge where we have the commitment from hiring from the community, from pulling from low-income communities, homeless communities, transitional workforce, from prison back into the workforce communities. As a Black woman-owned company that's in this clean energy technology space, that's one of our core tenets, is to ensure that we do that. We also have to have the knowledge and the responsibility of what those communities are dealing with from an emotional, economic, mental, and physical aspect. So I'm truly encouraging all business owners, all founders, all CEOs, in addition to the nonprofit community, to join together to support this initiative.
Thank you, Natalie. That is so important. And, those healthcare costs, as you mentioned, the systemic costs are tremendous. Every business is experiencing that. I want to bring up now Kalima Johnson from the Sasha Center. And she's the founder and CEO of Sasha Center. She has tremendous experience working with in this space. And so, Sasha, thank you for being with us.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
I am certainly glad to be here. I brought my notes up here because I know I'm supposed to keep this speech at 2 minutes. And I just want to say that wherever people are gathered, so is child sexual abuse. It doesn't matter the age, the race, the orientation, any of those things. Wherever we are and wherever we gather, there's a story. So again, good morning. My name is Kalima Johnson, and I'm the founder and executive director and participant at the Sasha Center. Sasha stands for Sexual Assault Services for Holistic Healing and Awareness, where we center the lived experiences of those who identify as having some kind of sexual trauma. Our work at the Sasha Center is culturally specific, community-based, and also we're deeply rooted here in Detroit, meaning that most of us were either born and raised here in the city of Detroit, so we all have a story. Our work centers the healing and support of self-identified experiencers with a particular focus on the lived experiences of Black women. I want to thank Neighborhood Service Organization, Linda, my girl, for this invitation to be a part of this partnership. And through this collaboration, Sasha Center will provide 2 of our training facilitators to join NSO programs and offer support group services to women already receiving care, meeting them where they are with culturally grounded approaches and compassion. While NSO's work often centers children, Sasha Center serves adult women who have been sexually traumatized as children. Their experiences don't vanish with time. They shape how people move through the world. That unspoken pain can block dreams, isolate individuals from community, and lead to secrets that are carried in silence for years. We are here to say, you don't have to carry it alone. At Sasha Center, we believe language is powerful. It shapes how people understand themselves, how they heal, and how they connect to others. Off script a little bit, I want to tell you that we identify people who've experienced sexual assault as experiencers, not victims, and not thrivers or survivors, because that gives them the room to tell us who they are from day to day, moment to moment. And it doesn't put them in a narrative of having to show up to us and with us in either of those things. It doesn't trap them in trauma, and it doesn't trap them in this strong Black woman trope that we tend to actually have to deal with all the time. So, with that in mind, I want to say that's why our work is deeply intentional and rooted. It's rooted in joy, it's rooted in restorative care, and it's not just a trauma response. We don't believe in one-size-fits-all solutions. That's why we're here. We believe in listening. We believe in centering voices that are often unheard. And when I hear the hashtag #DontTouchMe, I hear silence for him. I hear don't. I hear boundary setting. I hear all of those things. So I think it's important, and that's why we're here. More specifically, I want to say, and let me be clear, Sasha Center will always show up for community, regardless of any position that leaders or organizations take. If you are a leader of an organization and sexual assault comes up, Sasha Center, whatever they decide to do, there's a place for them at the Sasha Center. And I am super excited about this opportunity to partner with NSO. I am super excited, and we believe in carrying the good news. And the good news is that if someone has experienced a sexual trauma, they don't have to deal with it alone. Amen? Amen. Ashe. Ashe. Boom shakalaka. And don't stop getting And I have to hit it. I'm going to the police department right now, but tell them what you said.
Thank you.
Y'all, thank you.
So I want to bring up just a wonderful expert that's not, certainly not shy or new to the media space. Dr. Rose Moulton is the founder of Bloom Transformation Center. She is a dynamic clinical psychologist who has just a breadth of experience. Who's going to talk about, I don't want to say what she's going to talk about.
So good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Dr. Rose.
It's my pleasure to again partner with NSO. My name is Dr. Rose Moulton. I am the founder and CEO of Bloom Transformation Center. I am a clinical psychologist with 27 years of practice, and we are talking about childhood sexual and physical abuse here this morning. And I'm here to say that I have almost 3 decades of dealing with the aftermath, and I don't see children. The aftermath I'm talking about is adults who don't even realize or recognize the impact that silence for so many years of their experience and abuse has caused in their, as Natalie said, occupation, in their marriages, in their ability to just form solid, meaningful relationships in life. So I want to just stress that, and I'll speak to that a little bit before I end, but oftentimes children are not really validated, or they are silenced because people say they look normal. They're outside playing. You know, this child is going through abuse. Surely we see it. Children don't always cry for help. They whisper. Childhood sexual abuse can show up in so many different ways. It can show up as aggression, the bully on the playground. It can show up as withdrawal. It can show up as even physical responses. We know encopresis, wetting the bed, or encopresis, inability to hold in your excrements, can be a sign that a child is experiencing some type of abuse. Or even excessive compliance, the child that becomes the people pleaser, that becomes the adult people pleaser. That can be all signs and symptoms that something's going on. It's not one size fits all. And it even becomes even more complex, which is why I'm so pleased that you want to even train police officers on the differences in the developmental stages, depending on what age that abuse is happening. A child's silence is not proof of safety. It's a survival strategy. Young brains adapt to trauma not by processing it. Their young brains don't know how to process trauma. They address and adapt by suppressing it, which oftentimes masks what they're enduring. The ADHD kids in class, all of these things are just reasons to dig a little deeper. People oftentimes ask, how could a child seem to be fine around the abuser? He can't be doing anything to her. She can't be doing anything to him. And oftentimes we know, majority is the family member. But when abusers is someone they love, fear and affection coexist in confusing ways. Again, the young brain doesn't know how to make sense of it. Children may appear comfortable or even happy around an abuser because their brain is prioritizing survival over logic. And grooming a child doesn't just happen to the child, it happens to the whole family. Abusers often manipulate the environment so well that the child learns to perform normalcy to maintain any sense of control or to protect others. And I spoke to this a little bit, and I just want to kind of just talk about, because even if you're watching this, or you're here in this audience and you're saying, oh, this doesn't relate to me, or, you know, I didn't have this experience as a child. I, fortunately enough, did not have an experience of childhood sexual or physical abuse, but I can tell you it affects me, not just in my professional career. Has affected every marriage I've been in. It's affected relationships that I've been in. When you have a partner who has undergone any type of childhood sexual or physical abuse, you better believe it's affecting and impacting your relationship. It impacts your neighbors. It impacts your friends. So again, this is something we all should be striving to bring awareness to. So, when a child is not believed, the abuse doesn't just continue, it echoes, and the betrayal of disbelief compounds the trauma and erodes their ability to trust others or even themselves. And silencing a child's truth is a form of breed abuse, and when adults fail to protect, they unintentionally reinforce the abuser's message. Your pain doesn't matter. Survivors, as adults, may struggle, as I said, with relationships, trust, intimacy, emotional regulation, the rage that we see in this world, oftentimes the rage that we see in this community. Why would someone kill someone over cutting them off in traffic or over cutting them off in line? No, these are individuals that have stored decades and decades of pain. And pain is nothing more than stored energy. Rage is nothing more than stored energy, just looking for an opportunity to release itself. Mm-hmm. The body keeps the score. I'm here to tell you, chronic anxiety, depression, autoimmune issues, and even addiction can be rooted in early abuse, as the nervous system stays stuck in survival mode for decades. As a doctoral student, my internship was I was placed in a treatment facility for women who were overcoming addiction. And just to share, you know, I was young, my early 20s, mid-20s at that time. I had such a judgmental view of this population because surely motivation is all you need. Some willpower is all you need. Again, as someone, hard work, right? As someone who was fortunate enough to not experience that, I was coming from a very ignorant and lacking empathy place at this time. But God placed me exactly where I needed to be. And one of the things that I learned initially, which caused me to even go into the line of work that I do, which focuses on trauma healing, is that I realized very early on that addiction was just a symptom. I tell you, 99% of those women I saw there, and 1% may not have just wanted to share it, were all victims of childhood sexual or physical abuse, which manifested themselves in addiction. Women with autoimmune disorders. We know women by far have a higher percentage of autoimmune disorders. And we know that that has a direct correlation to childhood abuse. So, thank you, NSO, for just launching this campaign. And I just want to end by saying, every time we ignore a child's pain, we silence a future. The Don't Touch Me campaign is not just a call to protect children's bodies. It's a demand to honor their voices, believe their truth, and break the cycle before it breaks them. Thank you.
I had to get emotional. This is real. People's lives. And when you have people who don't take that seriously, it's so intensely disturbing. I was talking to the next speaker that's going to come up about a story that came out this morning. A father who's suing Child Protective Services in Michigan because their 3-year-old child was murdered by their mother and stored in a freezer. And after multiple complaints and requests to Child Protective Services, nothing was done to protect the child. And so they're filing lawsuits against multiple employees at Child Protective Services. And, you know, I don't know the specifics of that case, and I'm certainly not judging because everybody, you know, we don't know where they are on their journey in their spectrum. So this is not to judge anybody. It is just to protect children. If we can't get on one accord for that, what is wrong with us as a community? These simple measures to protect children should be embraced by everyone. Who doesn't want their child to be safe? You know, injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. So it may be somebody else's child today, but tomorrow it could be anybody's child that's in this room or listening to this Facebook Live or hears this story. This is something that affects the future of the children we serve. I think about the 80s crack pandemic or epidemic, and how we're experiencing today. I talk to educators and they talk about the children in the classrooms today who are children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren from the crack addictions and the infiltration in certain communities that are still reaping the ramifications of that epidemic that just plagued our communities. So this is real. This is about the future. What do we want our future communities to look like? If we have wounded children who grow up to be wounded adults for things that we can prevent, things that we have the ability to do something about today that we didn't do, I don't want my children looking at me. And I didn't take a stand and take a position and do what I could do to protect children, to make sure that their future is solidified. And I know that nobody knows this better than Monique Marks. She's the CEO of Franklin Wright Settlements, but she's also a therapist who has so many experiences that she can share today. I said, Monique, He was Dorian, tell us the story. He has so much, he's just a wealth of information about this issue. And I just want to, I want to thank you for being here, Monique, and bringing up the rear. Monique Mark.
All right. I'm gonna talk loud because I was told to talk loud in the mic. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I've been doing this for over 30 years. And for 30 years, I've been screaming out, crying out, saying, what can we do? Why can't we fix it? Why can't we give children a voice? When I start telling children and going into schools and saying, listen, sometimes parents don't know how to teach against that. But we as educators, as community individuals, we could help fix it. I'm gonna tell a brief story because I've seen so many children over the last 30 years. And I kept thinking to myself, as opposed to having all this trauma and pain on our children, why not try to give them a voice? Sometimes they can't use their voice. Sometimes they can't say stop. So I start telling them, just put your hands up. Put your hands up. If you can't say it, just push back. It may not always work, but at least it gives you power to know that you are a human being that deserves to be loved and nurtured and to have a childhood without trauma. See, a lot of times we create situations that are catastrophic to our children. Some parents don't even know they're doing it, right? Calling your child out of their name when you gave them a beautiful name is not okay. It strips a little bit away every single time. And then they become vulnerable and they feel like, well, I'm nothing. So if they want to touch me, if they want to hurt me, it's parents. They're my parents. And I'm gonna give you a quick, just one story that just lives in my head. A young man, when he became 13 years old, his mother had been sexually abusing him since he was an infant. She then had a daughter and did the same thing. And when he turned 13 years old, he told one of the counselors. And the counselors called me, and we called protective service. And we had the children removed. When they removed the children, I also counseled the mother. Only to find out that it was a generation of individuals that had also molested her and her sisters and so forth. But what I didn't know immediately, because when Child Protective Services removed the child or children, they went to stay with the grandmother. When they stayed with the grandmother, the father that was molesting the daughter was there. But even more so, to steal a child's childhood away, every holiday, the children was with the grandparents, the mother was allowed to come and celebrate. So I don't have to finish the sentence. She would take them up to the bathroom. And so he came to me and he called me. Now he's 13. And everybody in the city of Detroit, probably all over the world, have my cell phone number. It's the same cell phone for literally over 30 years. And I do that because if one of my kids feel vulnerable or suicidal or just tired, they can call me anytime, day or night. I got one phone. And so when he was telling me that I hate holidays, it broke me a little bit, right? Like, we're therapists, we try to be strong, but in essence, we're looking at these beautiful children being traumatized over and over again, and the system's not doing anything that is substantial, that could save them from going through childhood trauma. And so, I got so, I get emotional about it. And I said, I know that I can't take away your pain. What can I do for you? What can I do to help you right now, in this very moment? He said, I've never been to Disney. And so at 13 years old, I started a college tour. It wasn't really about college, but it was about college, because I had to make it about it. So I would board all the young people on the bus, and I would take 45 kids, and for 25 years, I took as many kids as I could get on the bus, and we took them to Disney, but I also started putting them in college because I thought that that was a way to get away.
Yes.
So I'm just thinking like, I don't care if this kid don't graduate, I hope they do, but at least I can get them out of that. I can get them away, and then I can show them that life is good, that people love them, and that they could absolutely go to college, and they could be what they want to be. And I did it a step further. I started saying, you don't have to stay in the United States. They was like, Miss Monet, we don't have to stay in the United States. I said, no, go to the Peace Corps. Find somewhere, find your life. Heal yourself. Be true to yourself. Because just because that was your past, it doesn't have to be your future. It doesn't have to be your now. It could be your forever. You could be who you want to be, and I will be right here for you. As a matter of fact, I almost brought him, but I did not. He's an adult. He's married. He's college graduated. I used to ask Tyree Guyton, because he used to go all over the world, right? And he's right next to Franklin Wright Settlement, so I used him a lot. And so I would have him take youth to Australia and Switzerland, because I wanted them to see the world. I wanted them to see the world in a bigger picture, that they can heal, they can be whole. But in the meantime, what are we doing as a community? What are we doing as a country? What are we doing with our resources that we can't fight for better laws for our children? Thank you.
I was on the phone with Monique, they call me Miss Myers. I was on the phone where I promise you, we were on the phone for what, maybe 10, 15 minutes?
Yes.
It had to be 100 kids. I mean, they just love her so much. Thank you for standing in the gap. You do that every single day, standing in the gap. And that's what this is about, us standing in the gap. And so we launched a website called DontTouchMe.wiki. Everybody's like, why .wiki? Because .com wasn't there. Same respectable domain name. It is authenticated. It's DontTouchMe.wiki. And it is also linked on our NSO website. It has statistics, information about the campaign. You can sign up to be a supporter, you can donate, you can join the movement, and we encourage you all to do so. There's also resources to educate the community about child abuse. What does it look like? What are the signs? What are predator traits? We need to be more informed. As Dr. Moulton mentioned, most child predators are extremely manipulative. They manipulate the world around them. And quite frankly, they too have been abused in most cases. So, Dr. Richard Bryce, I'm going to ask him to come up, because when you have chronic anxiety, we talk about how chronic medical conditions can be at higher rates of incidence in communities with lower socioeconomic status, in communities where, your zip code determines your health outcome. And that is because of trauma. That is because of the disparities that I addressed when I opened up today. So Dr. Rice is going to talk about this from the medical perspective.
Thanks so much, Linda. It's an absolute honor to be with all of you today. Similar to what Linda has mentioned, just hearing all the unique speakers sharing what everyone had to say is quite moving and inspiring at the same token. As Linda mentioned, Richard Bryce is my name, so I'm the Chief Medical Officer at the Community Health and Social Services Center, CHAS Center, and so we've had this incredible partnership with MSO over the last couple of years, opening up some facilities here at Valley Housing, Life Choices, Bell Building, etc. And so when Linda brought this to our attention, this really matches kind of the work that we do. We want to support all of our patients, definitely understanding those most vulnerable are our children, right? And so once you start to see from a medical perspective, similar to what has been mentioned before, kind of that intergenerational trauma that just continues to seep through generations, what can we do about it? How can we break that cycle? And so once you start to think of this, like we all think we want to do a good job on this, but can we be better? And I know from us at CHAS, we can be better. I think even some of the training for our medical professionals that get training in this, we can be better in understanding all of the things that we can do. If you don't ask and you don't examine, then you're never going to find any of that trauma or that sexual abuse or physical abuse and the harm that is being given to our children. And so I think for us, that's our first commitment, is just being better on a day-to-day basis. But obviously, in terms of supporting the Don't Touch Me movement that we have right here and working with all of the incredible partners, we're very, very excited to be better. And so I just am so fortunate enough to have an opportunity to speak with all of you today, and I'm inspired by everybody else, and we will be better. Thank you.
I like that. Let's just be better. Let's be better. Let's be better. So at NSO, we have therapists on staff who have been serving the community for 70 years this year. We're celebrating 70 years. And so we're offering anyone who has been abused or is experiencing the trauma from abuse, who needs to talk to a therapist. We have therapists available for you next day. Same day and next day appointments are available. You can call 888-360-WELL. That's 888-360-WELL. And we're also going to, be working toward this training. I'm a nurse. I have spent my life serving others. I've spent 30 years renewing my license and taking all the trainings and the courses that are required. And at any time, when we're hiring staff, you can go on the state's registry and pull up license information, compliance information. We should be able to do the same thing we've been trained in child abuse and understanding these age-specific, trauma-informed developmental cues that children may present with, the traits of predators. There should be a way that we can have that information be accessible to the public so that everybody knows who's trained and who's not. We need some kind of registry, a repository. Why not? We have all the structures in place. It's so critical. Like I said, you wouldn't want somebody working on your physical ailments who has, and it's a matter of life and death, and they haven't been trained. That information is public. So why isn't that training public? We can do better, right? Let's be better. So I want to thank all of you for your time today. Thank you for being here. Thanking the Facebook community for joining today. Post, repost, share, send it to anybody, everybody. Let's get the word out. Let's share with everyone. Let's let this movement move. Let's be better.